Thanks for joining us here in our 6 o'clock hour. You are waking up to wind chill temperatures near 40 below.
That's right. That's why our team has declared a KARE 11 weather impact alert for the next 4 hours. The dangerous temps causing more than 100 schools to cancel or delay classes this morning. Many districts making the decision in the last 30 minutes.
The full list scrolling right now at the bottom of your screen, and you can find it right now at kare11.com. We're going to get to all of that in just 1 minute, but first we are tracking new details from overnight following a crash landing by a Delta flight at the Toronto airport. You're looking at moments following the crash 2 hours after taking off yesterday from MSP Airport.
Michelle Beck is joining us live from the live desk right now with some new details overnight. Michelle.
Well, guys, I found this data in the last 20 minutes. According to FlightAware, Toronto Pearson Airport around the time of yesterday's crash, around 2:15 Eastern, was right about here. Wind speeds around or up to 28 knots. That's about 32 miles per hour. Significant, according to the words of John Ziegler. I was just talking to him moments ago. Also worth noting, temperatures around 16 degrees Fahrenheit. The investigation led by Canadian officials will likely include those details and, guys, so much more. Passenger video shows how an entire plane, 80 people, escaped through emergency exits. And, guys, this is what they found. Their Endeavour Flight 4819 straight from Minneapolis turned upside down. The right wing of the plane was also ripped off. A local fire chief notes the runway was dry and there were no crosswinds. He says 18 people were hospitalized, and some of them, according to Delta's late night post, are now out of the hospital after a harrowing situation.
I was walking to this fence and I could see a CRJ that is possibly crashed on the airport. The airplane is flipped.
And a brand new post from Toronto Pearson here in the last 24 minutes says the airport remains open with flights arriving and departing. Although we do go to MSP Airport's website, type in Toronto when it comes to arrivals and departures. It looks like there are some cancellations. We know there is some bad weather in the area. Jason, Alicia.
Yeah, the video is just so scary, and it hits so close to home. That's a flight that people around here take every day.
My husband's taking it next week for work. Very scary. All right, Michelle, we'll check back with you later. Thank you. Well, this morning we're hearing from a Minnesota man who was inside the plane when it crashed. John Nelson says the flight was normal until they hit the ground hard. Then the plane went sideways and flipped over. That's when he saw the first explosion. Another one happening after firefighters evacuated them onto the tarmac. He called the whole thing mass chaos.
I was upside down. The lady next to me was upside down. We kind of let ourselves go and fell to hit the ceiling, which is surreal feeling. And then everybody was just like, get out, get out, get out. We could smell like jet fuel.
Absolutely terrifying. A former NTSB investigator says because the fuselage, or the main part of the plane, stayed intact, it actually helped protect all of the passengers, and that the wings and part of the tail that ripped off absorbed most of the initial impact.
In the last 15 hours, Governor Walz posted on X saying he's in touch with Delta and grateful for the first responders. Echoing that message is Senator Amy Klobuchar, who serves on the Senate's Transportation Committee. She added, "We must get to the bottom of what happened." Now, there's a lot more to learn about this situation. We're going to have more information throughout the show as it comes in, including an interview with a former NTSB investigator. That's coming up in 10 minutes. We also have a live report from Toronto coming up at 6:30.
Now back to the KARE 11 weather impact alert this morning. As you head out the door, you're going to be faced with dangerous wind chills at nearly 40 below as we speak. And we have team coverage to help you get prepared. Audrey Russo is live in North Minneapolis, where crews are not only battling a house fire this morning, but of course their equipment has been freezing up. CC Gaines is tracking conditions on the roads. But let's get out to John in the backyard with an update on today's forecast. Hey, John.
Hey, yeah, we saw Wilmer get down to minus 44 this morning. That's the low wind chill. So Wilmer is really cold, but even a few places outside of the Twin Cities, even, Maple Grove, I've seen down to 37 below. So it just depends on where you're at. Kind of goes in and out depending on the strength of the wind. We're all under this extreme cold weather warning. Wind chills down to 45 below, and we have seen, like I said, 44 below, so that's accurate. Here in the metro, we're at 13 below at the airport, but Blaine's at 15 below. Look at Cambridge. Look at Osceola, 22 below, 20 below. These are actual temps. You can see St. Cloud at minus 17. Wilmer's your cold spot, minus 24, and we've been hanging on to these winds Depends on the strength of the wind. So if it was 10, which it was a little bit ago, that gets you to 45 below. Right now, 38 below in Wilmer. But we're at minus 30 right now in the cities. But like I said, outside of the cities, even Maple Grove and Blaine, 36 below zero. I've got the weather impact alert for the first 5 hours of the day. That's why a lot of schools have either canceled or delayed. It gets a little better if you want to call it that. We'll get to 2 degrees. Wind chills in the afternoon, still minus 14. We got one more cold morning, better tomorrow, but still cold. And then we'll talk about that relief in your forecast.
All right, good morning to you. Taking a look at the map and different cameras this morning, it looks like things are kind of freezing up here. But I was telling you about a crash on 169 northbound as you're headed toward 494 right at Anderson Lake Parkway here. There's the crash icon. It looks like that crash clears, so your path to 494 should be okay this morning. But on 169 southbound, there's a crash you see on this entrance ramp from 85th Avenue North. It looks like it's slowing things down as you take that ramp. Help is there, though, so hopefully that does clear soon. Over in Minnetonka, we're seeing a stalled semi. This is on 394 eastbound at Hopkins Crossroad. Not slowing things down as you're headed towards St. Louis Park, but just something to keep an eye on. But overall, things across the metro are looking pretty good. Just don't rule out some slick spots as you head out the door this morning. Jason.
All right, Cece, appreciate that heads up. Thank you. Turning now to that breaking news in North Minneapolis. As we speak, fire crews are working in the dangerously cold conditions to put out a 4-alarm house fire.
And about 20 minutes ago, we got some new information from the scene. Our Audrey Russo has been there all morning long and has been talking with firefighters on the ground. Audrey, what can you tell us?
Yeah, well, Jason and Alicia, we are 4 hours into the firefighting operation at this point, and it's hard to believe that there's any roof left to burn. I want to direct your attention all the way up to the attic. For the last 20 minutes, we've seen bits of gutter and wall and shingle and roof essentially explode off of the house as it continues to get hit by the hoses. At this point, we can report from the fire department that there were no injuries, so that is one bit of positive news, but they are just continuing to put out hot spots as it burns through this wooden roof. Now, the fire department tells us that it broke out on the second floor of this home around 2 o'clock this morning, quickly spreading to the walls and all the way up to the attic and roof. They called in additional help because their equipment was freezing up so quickly. Then they had to do another alarm to switch out personnel because, again, as I mentioned, this is a 4-hour firefighting operation, and it is dangerously cold to be out here. The firefighters are walking around the house, spraying the house from above. That water vapor is flying up, making the conditions feel a lot colder out here, if you can even imagine that. Now, we know that there is a bus here, a warming bus, not only for those who've been displaced, but also for the firefighters so that they can go and stay warm as they continue to battle this blaze. It's unclear at this point how many people have been displaced, but we do know at this point, the fire department says they've switched to a defensive tactic. So what that means is that they are essentially trying to just put out the fire, make sure it doesn't spread to any of the neighboring homes. But at this point, that's really the focus, not so much saving the structure, because I can only imagine at this point the entire inside has got to be a block of ice because it's just continuing to freeze as they pour more and more water on it. Jason, Alicia.
Yeah, big difference from about an hour ago. You saw the flames shooting from the roof, but
Right.
still the fight continues out there. Audrey Russo reporting live from that scene. Thank you so much.